initiate chaos theory guarantees that we'll play like lightning shots, sounding like thunder. For every time in the face that it hits us, we're faster. Well, they should know by now. They see the world keeps trying to shake us. It only wakes us. The pendulum swings. The pendulum swings. It's in a beautiful darkness. Napoleon another. It's full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. All about the Petty Express. Misdirected from the start. It's a runaway train. Come on, freight train. I come a freight train. In a beautiful darkness, the Petty Express. In a beautiful
Welcome, everyone. We are back on the Petty Express. It looks like we are likely to go off the rails fairly quickly because I believe I did some pre-watching and there is some juror on medication, possibly. I think this is the part, shenanigans. So we are going immediately into on the record out of the jury's presence because in this case, I mean, could we expect anything different? But let's get into this. Thank you guys for joining me on this trial. This is the Chris Wolfenbarger trial, and it is in the confusing state of Georgia, which might be the Florida of the South, even though I know Florida is in the South, but Georgia seems to be working on trying to unseat Florida man here lately. But let's get into this. I do like the judge. I do find her to be competent and very middle of the road. She takes thoughtful approaches to, questions about the law, regardless of what side they come from. And it seems like she does, look at the case law and really try to, call balls and strikes as fairly as she can. Even with all the state's shenanigans and losing things. But without further ado, as your conductress of Snark on the Petty Express, let's get into this.
Today is the 20th of August in the trial.
Awesome sauce. I will say that, yeah, and I did try to get the screw yourself sideways with a cactus. I did try to get the logo to be about boobular area. This is my first foray into merch, so it will get better, probably. I'm glad, JKD Buck. I liked it. Mr. Mo was like, he saw me holding my shirt and smiling in front of the mirror he just put up, and he's like, "You're proud of yourself." I'm like, it has a curse word on it and a cactus. So let's get into this after I have semi-grifted.
Out of the state of Georgia versus Christopher Wolfenbarger, case number 24SC004201. I'll note for the record that Mr. Wolfenbarger is present here in the courtroom along with his counsel, and that counsel for the state is also present. Mr. Samuel.
When I left court yesterday, I think the prosecutors are still in here. I was walking past, towards the elevator, and one of the jurors was in the sitting area.
Yes, sir.
And he looked like he was, like really, really ill. He was just kind of hunched over, and I have no medical training. Plus, I was debating my role as a good Samaritan, and my job as a lawyer. Fortunately, I saw there was a deputy at the end of the hall.
Yes.
And I went to the deputy. I said, "Someone's got to. I can't talk to this person." So the deputy went back and talked to him. I was not within hearing distance and stayed out of sight. I gather he was in a great deal of pain from a back injury and was taking medication. I'm not sure what happened after that. I mean, the deputy eventually left, and there's nothing for me to do. I wasn't going to sit there with the juror, obviously. I just bring it to your attention that the juror was apparently in so much pain he was taking medication. That concerns me if he's sitting here in the courtroom.
Well, thank you. Do you know which juror it was by number?
Certainly.
Love it. Is anyone else hearing an echo? Let me refresh this right quick. Because I was getting a bit of an...
there's nothing for me to do. I wasn't going to sit there with the juror, obviously. I just bring it to your attention that the juror was apparently in so much pain he was taking medication. That concerns me if he's sitting here in the courtroom.
Well, thank you. Do you know which juror it was by number?
Certainly not by number. It was a black man, not the one who does dialysis.
So not 43.
And not the taller man who, I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay. I mean, the main reason I ask is that I'm surprised that you would have such an encounter and that
Okay,
juror or
that's
other jurors would not have communicated to my staff, hey, I'm having an issue, and I've not heard.
okay. We're taking a tangent. We're taking a rant because I have a rant here, any whoozle. Okay, but this doggone defense attorney with the daggone Fabio hair, like, y'all don't understand the amount of crap us women go through to try to get, silky, soft, straight hair that looks fabulous when you put your sunglasses on instead of like making hair horns and ridiculous frizz. This is just not fair. This man probably uses like Suave or Dawn dish soap, and his hair looks fabulous. Thank you for listening to my rant. One day, my hair will look that great with sunglasses. I'll throw myself a parade. It will only happen once in my life. I do expect floats. That is my only rant. Men with wonderful, fabulous hair they don't understand the gift they were given.
Any such communication from that juror. So if they are struggling with that, it's unfortunate, but it seems as if they don't feel the need to bring it to my attention.
I just felt the need for me to bring it to your attention, but
I understand.
I remember, obviously I see the jury. I've never seen him in the jury box appear under any distress. So,
okay. Well, what I'll do for now, rather than, formally inquire or put anybody on the spot, is just, if it's okay with y'all, is just have Miss Johnson check in. She's my JA who takes care of the jurors, and make sure everybody's comfortable. And if you're not comfortable, you're having issues paying attention, you need to let me know so I can bring it to the judge's attention and let you know if I get any report from that. Okay.
I'll just make a mental note of where he's sitting.
And then maybe you can tell me, we can identify him further so we'll at least know which juror it is. Okay.
I think you're right. I think because Mr. McDermott brought that to my attention.
Mhm.
And as I was not leaving, but going out of the courtroom, I saw that juror. I believe it's a juror who may work for Delta, if I'm not mistaken, just shorter black man. I think yesterday he was sitting in the second
or third from the end.
No, let's continue to semi-dox the jury. I think it's a great idea. Both of y'all, all three of you are doing a spectacular job keeping them sort of anonymous. It's the semi-anonymous jury.
on the back row. I think he had on green yesterday. And I saw him leaving as I was going towards the right, towards the restroom. It looked like he was getting up from that area and leaving the courthouse.
Hang on just 1 second.
He did mention back work on disability.
Now, it is concerning that a juror, and I mean, I did not disclose that I'm on, what some people might consider a fairly large amount of medication, but had I thought, and I y'all, when I had jury duty, I did not
Are we
sleep the
ready
night
to get
before
started?
because I was so aware, covering trials, and this isn't a toot my own horn thing, but I was so aware of the power that I had as a juror to affect not only the lives of whatever potential victim of whatever case I was doing and the, defendant. It, covering these trials, you see, how all of these things can shape a life. And I was genuinely, worried and aware of that responsibility. I don't know if that's a thing for every juror, but I know I was keenly aware of it, to the point that if I felt like anything that I have to take medically or my condition was causing issues with me being in the jury, I would have spoken up. As much as I don't like to bring it up, with people I don't talk to or don't know very much, had it been something that was affecting my ability, I definitely would have spoken up. So I hope this juror, made sure he could do his job and be aware, despite having a chronic condition or maybe a pain.
Wait, Miss Hilton, you said you wanted to check the audio.
Yes, please.
Will you hit play for just a moment?
Georgia, I plead to all the saints, holy The goodness and the hoodness. Could you please get audio that wasn't recorded on a Casio ham sandwich? I have had better audio from a Casio Speak and Spell. Do better. Get a talk boy for cripe's sake. Well, Tammy, you missed the defense attorney, letting the judge know that one of the jurors looked like he was in such pain that he was noticeably ill looking and had said that he was taking medication. Now, they kind of went off record, so they might have been discussing private medical stuff. I will say that they semi-doxed a lot of the jurors trying to figure out which juror it was because they couldn't remember which number. That being said, I haven't seen anything come out that regarding any jury, misconduct or tampering. And since he was exonerated, I don't think there would be any issues. But it is concerning if a juror is, medicated or limited in how they can perceive the trial. And now we're listening to audio from sass.
Is that interference something that you've experienced before, or is it something to do with your broadcasting it?
I think it might be the broadcasting. Earlier today, it was as clear as day. I could hear every word, so I'm not sure.
Have you attempted to do it on your
Bluetooth?
on your speaker instead of through the court's audio system, which is not great, to say the least?
And we,
Took a stand at 11:30 and is on now, so we're waiting for her to get up. That would be one of our last witnesses. I think we're at 3 remaining.
Forgive me, Dr. Terry is the ME? Okay.
With a device not found, ready to air.
oh, wait, with the hair. Stop touching your fabulous hair. It's just making me jealous. On a positive note, I finally found one of my random, of course, tangent. Sorry, you guys. It's been, I don't know if it's the change in weather or what, but Hagatha the leg is like, ugh. And artist formerly known as the good leg is like double ick. So, but I finally found, I got my ring sized up because my hand goes from swollen to not swollen so much. The problem is that now it's a bit looser. So I was losing it in my sleep. I know you're supposed to take your rings off, but I am a chaos demon. And look, the more I have my ring on and try not to take it off is the longer I don't lose it. So, because the cats, if I put it anywhere, it's sparkly and they like to play with it. And I don't trust me to remember what I'm doing from one room to a next. So I try to keep it on. So I finally found one of those little cozy things that makes the ring fit. I know, not a big deal, but hey, everyday small miracles that make my life a little better. I've chosen to start celebrating those and apparently sharing them because I have like ADHD today.
But until, later on, there's someone supposed to know that body, you got to, it's going to work as if all my stuff in on Doorville, because, yeah, I could, that was there.
I think
I need to get
okay.
one.
So are we ready for the jury? Ms. Hilton?
Yes.
Mr. McDermott?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can we have the jury, please?
Ooh, sidebar already.
For the afternoon session. Thank you all. Ms. Hilton, the state may call its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Mike Sprinkle to the stand.
Mike Sprinkle?
Come on up, sir. When you reach the witness stand, before you have a seat, if you'll turn and face the deputy and raise your right hand, he'll swear you in.
Before I want to testimony that I give truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir. I didn't Please state the spell your full name for the court.
First name Michael, Michael, last name Sprinkle, Sprinkel.
Of the proud Sprinkle clan, the, offshoot of the Keebler elves. Okay, that was mean. God bless this man. Y'all know he did not have an easy time in middle school. This man has worn the Sprinkle name proud even through middle school. This man is a warrior, because kids are evil, and having the humor of a 12-year-old person. Sprinkle, I would snort laugh to the ends of the earth. So this man has survived much.
And good afternoon, Mr. Sprinkle. How are you currently employed?
I am employed as a deputy district attorney at the office of the Fulton County District Attorney here in Atlanta, Georgia.
And how long have you been with the district attorney's office?
Since June of 2011, so about 14 years.
And what unit do you work in?
I am in the unindicted homicide unit.
And what are your job duties and responsibilities as a deputy in the unindicted homicide unit?
I oversee the unit, the unindicted homicide unit, which screens the incoming homicide cases that come from the various jurisdictions in Fulton County. And I screen them specifically prior to their presentation to the Fulton County Grand Jury.
And in that role, have you at times worked on cold cases?
I have.
And within those files, have you had to enhance audio or video recordings to assist with your investigation or looking into that case?
Yes.
I want to direct your attention to the Melissa Wolfenbarger case. Did you have any occasion to work on that case?
I did.
And within that, did you have the occasion to enhance a September 12, 2001 Henry County interview video?
Yes. Well, yes. It was on I obtained the original video. It was on a video cassette, like a VHS cassette. I had a VCR in my office, and I also had this little USB device that had an RCA connection on it. So essentially it made it so I could hook the VCR up using RCA cables to my computer and then record it. And in doing that, I extracted the audio specifically off the VHS.
In Harry Potter, when Harry Potter tries to explain to Mr. Weasley how muggles do things, every time they bring a technologicalologist in, that's basically what I'm hearing. I'm like Mr. Weasley, eccentricity, you say. They plug things into a wall, you say. I'm vaguely dubious, but sure that it actually exists. That's where I stand when it comes to technology.
Cassette, and I don't recall what exactly I did. I just know that I created an audio file that I could hear better than when I watched the video cassette originally.
And was that
when you're presenting yourself as an expert and you say, I don't know exactly what I did, but I could hear it better after, just for giggles, see, I can get away with that because I am like your Aunt Judith with a jitterbug. I also, run a YouTube channel where I basically don't take much seriously in myself, and I'm fully honest and open with my lack of technical skills. However, when you're in a murder case and a DA and you effectively changed, key evidence, you think you'd know more than I plugged things in and internet magic happened.
able to help enhance you listening to the audio that was on that video cassette?
Yes.
Okay. And have you had the opportunity to review that audio that you extracted in preparation for your testimony today?
Yes, there was a disc, an optical disc that was handed to me outside the courtroom. There were 2 files on it. And I listened to them, and they were the audio files. There were 2 of them. One was an excerpt from the audio file that I created, and the other was the full audio file that I created.
Yeah, our permission to approach?
Excuse me?
Permission to approach.
Go. Yes.
I'm going to show you what's in Market States Exhibit 73A. Do you recognize 73A?
Yes, this is the disc that I just described.
And did both the original audio and appear to be the full audio that you extracted from the September 12, 2001 video?
Yes, it hadn't been altered or manipulated in any way.
Okay. And then was there a redacted version on there as well?
The redacted version was on there. That was the excerpt of the original, yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit Stacy Exhibit 73A into evidence.
Mr. McDermott?
No objection.
73A is admitted.
Permission to publish.
Permission granted. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll just remind you, as I have when we've played audio for you, there may be things that have been removed from the audio. You may perceive that, and I'll just remind you that the fact that redactions have been made is not something that you should consider, and why or what might have been said or why the court caused it to be redacted is not something that you should speculate about. Thank you all.
He looks like Glenn Beck's uncomfortable brother. Is anyone pulling words beyond, Southern Swedish Chef? I mean, and what I mean by Swedish Chef is you can definitely tell that there are words being spoken. I have a problem with this. I don't know if anyone else struggles with it. Like if you're in a really crowded restaurant or a crowded place with a lot of disparate conversations, and they're not loud or aggressive, they're just, disparate conversations. It sets me on edge because it's hard for me sometimes to distinguish the conversation, so it feels like I'm being overwhelmed by indistinct chatter. That being said, I am not a litmus test for normal, so this could be just a Mo thing. But that being said, I cannot figure out what's going on. He does kind of look like he's one of the little rascals that grew up. Oh my God, I'm a terrible person. Oh, wonderful.
Your Honor, may I object?
Yes, sure. You pause that, please.
Please object to save us from audio torture. Come on, safety. Save us from the Casio speak and spell and ham sandwich that recorded this audio. Again, Georgia. A talk boy, a talk girl would be better. Hell, whatever they cobbled together in E.T. would be better than this. I will say he does have a very angular face and a bit of resting. Because of everything it could look like a very severe and a very sort of angry face, depending on how you feel. That being said, as a card-carrying member of the Resting Bee-Face Club, I don't judge a resting bee face on its cover. Look, I suffer from it, so I don't tend to judge other people's resting bee faces. Sometimes you're born with it, sometimes it's Maybelline, sometimes it's just dealing with people. It is the new fall accessory. The mosey in this courtroom is ridiculous. Can we work with a purpose at any time?
Room for just a few minutes. Thank you for your patience.
And
Just let the jury get clear and then we can.
oh gosh. Judge, don't make me go from mildly irritated because your court moves with the speed of molasses, but because you make me listen to terrible audio.
It's clear. Mr. Sprinkle, I'm going to ask you to step off and step back outside, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And Mr. Sprinkle exits.
Okay. So just to make a record. The nature of Mr. McDermott's objection was that what was being played for the jury for, I'd say, somewhere between maybe 30 seconds to a minute really wasn't audible, right? It just sounds like Charlie Brown's parents, right? You know, we can tell somebody's talking, but you can't really tell what they're saying. I don't know if the fact that that speaker was facing the jury made it more audible and understandable to them, but I didn't get the impression that anybody really understood what was being said. Mr. McDermott's objection was that it was audible at some point, and if it's audible, it ought to be audible in the courtroom or it ought not to be played. We discussed some variations of how we might address this issue, and ultimately, I decided to take a break because I think I understand Ms. Hilton's representation to be that at various times she has listened to that recording and that it is in its, I guess, the point of Mr. Sprinkle's actions of enhancing the audio was to make the entire thing audible, understandable. And if that's the case in some media, then y'all need to take a minute to figure out how to make it audible in this courtroom. And if it can't be made to be audible in the courtroom, then I'm not exactly sure how it's admissible if we can't understand anything being said. The fact that he gave a statement is already in evidence on that date. So,
You know, after trying to plug me up like 8, 9 times, so I don't have a good relationship with them, but I'm kind of curious about that. I don't really know that anymore. But, I mean, everything was really amazing for a while. And you got I forget. I don't know what was living. He was living in Atlanta.
Can you all understand that?
Hey, Dingus, come on. Yeah. He and the other cats like this chair because it has a heater, so he is always willing to come over here, but he is a giant. I don't know if you can tell. He is huge, as you can see. It's not just the angle. He is okay. All right. Well, yeah, no, you get comfortable. You figure out. You do you, sir. How dare I try to have a competent stream and have a cat, emotional support cat terrorist.
I mean, I can understand it better than I could before, to the extent that audio quality is always an issue.
What is she understanding? Look, I know I don't have the best hearing, but how is she? That is not an effective tool. Again, evidence needs to be easily understood and kind of logically interpreted. And if you're getting every third to fourth words, you're not getting the context, you're not getting the full question. This makes no sense. I would just like, this is a trick. You're showing me your belly, and this is a trick. We've talked about this, sir.
Next one to the middle. That's 10 minutes in. That's 16 minutes in. That's 20 minutes in.
If it's the same quality, the judge thinks that's all.
That's about 25 minutes in.
25 minutes of this? Okay, here's the deal. And as much as I said that when I was a juror, I took my job very seriously, I'm going to be very honest with you. If I am presented with 20 minutes in which nothing is audible and I can comprehend literally half of 10%, I am not going to put forth effort to understand what's going on. Yeah, he is a big guy. Yeah, I'm trying to get him all full in the picture. He's huge. So he's kind of upset with me because when I first got him, I chose Dingus because he was a boob man. He liked to sit right here as a kitten, right on the boob shelf. Well, as you can see, the shelf has somewhat deflated and the kitten has somewhat inflated. So he is not a fan, but he is a fan of this chair because I can kind of lean back and, he can be comfy. He doesn't really love me. He loves that there's a heater in the chair. No, make yourself comfortable. How? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I stop petting you? How dare I? I had to use the mouse. It is a rough life being Dingus. Feel very sad for him.
Okay.
No, I just want to start at the beginning just to see how far it went.
Thank you.
I need to get a little perch for you.
So it's
like
right about 120 where it gets clear.
Nick has.
About a minute and 20 seconds. And the intro is him. What I can hear here is him just getting his name, where he lived. And that's the first minute.
I met her through a girlfriend of mine. She showed my house just over at home.
Okay.
That's first I met.
So we would propose starting at about 1:30, a minute and 30.
Is there any, forgive me if that's what you've just said, Ms. Hilton, but is there any understanding about what it is that was being said before that no one can understand? Do we not know?
So I can hear what he's saying. What he's asking is his contact information in the first minute.
Yes,
He's asking him to give me a little bit of
you are
background.
handsome. You are beautiful. You are adored.
The detective asked him go back over your history, and then he started.
I met her through a girlfriend of mine. She showed my house just over at home.
Okay.
And that's kind of where he really, this is really where he starts talking about their history.
Okay.
And we're at a minute and 45 in.
Okay. So what is the time designation on that tape that you're going to start playing?
I'm going to start it at 1:40 or 1:35 to the end.
Mr. McDermott?
I'm still not happy with the quality of it overall. I think asking the jury to sit through 20 to 30 minutes of that is going to be, its own form of torture.
Yes.
I don't necessarily see the probative value of it because so little bit of it's audible, you can pick up bits and pieces. That's not a fair copy of an interview, I don't think. It's certainly not anything that would get close to a rule of completeness. And so I would still object to playing it at all. If the court has determined that that's audible enough for the jury, obviously that's your call. But I maintain the objection not to play it at all.
Okay.
And furthermore, we've heard testimony from Detective Stott, who kept fairly detailed notes about this interview, and he gave us a pretty thorough rundown of everything that was said in it. So I'm not sure what's going to be picked up from listening to this tin can version of it.
Ms. Hilton?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Stott couldn't remember certain things that I asked him as far as dates. I asked him specifically about some dates, specific things that Mr. Wolfenbarger said about relationships, relationships that he had with the Patton family, and there were just things he did not remember. And I believe I asked him towards the conclusion, does the video contain the entirety of your statement? Would that be the fairest representation of your interview with Mr. Wolfenbarger? And he said yes, because everything that I asked him, he did not remember the full contents of this audio, of this video interview from 2001. And we do think it's relevant to play the video is in. What we're now doing is trying to make sure that the jurors can hear the audio from that video, so that if they wanted to play the video, they could play it in the back, but here is the audio that goes along with this video. And the redactions are redactions in which we advise the defense that we were taking out certain portions. The portions that are redacted from the video is Mr. Wolfenbarger's criminal history. Those are the things that are out, but everything else is what Mr. McDermott agreed should be in. Matter of fact, he asked for us to add something in that we had taken out that referenced Mr. Wolfenbarger's criminal history. So we believe that this is a depiction so that the jurors can hear fully what Mr. Wolfenbarger said in 2001.
Yes,
I
but
guess my final point would
is
be
the
that while I did agree to some redactions,
point.
those are not the issue that we were talking about here. My final point would be this. We're playing something for a jury that we're all sitting here listening to, and we can pick up bits and pieces. Some of it we can hear, some of it we can't. Some of the stuff in that interview I consider exculpatory and good for the defense. Other things I'm sure the state considers good for their case. We have no idea what the jury's going to be able to hear or not hear out of any of that. And it's just not, you're taking a crapshoot. And I don't want that going before the jury. If we have a clear version of that, then I wouldn't object to it. But there's just no way of telling what anyone's going to pick up from that. And that's not a fair thing to put before the jury.
It's
And I
hard
think
to
it's a weak
assess.
non-admissibility, Your Honor. They can argue that it's not clear. They can argue whatever. They can blame the state for the bad audio. They can do all of those things. But we can put this speaker up there and they can hear whatever it is that they determine that they can hear, and the defense can do it as they wish.
No,
I mean,
make yourself at home, sir.
You're not wrong, Ms. Hilton, in terms of the defense can use it against you if they choose to, right? And make the arguments that Mr. McDermott wants to make. I will say, I think the thing I'm frustrated by, and I blame it on the court technology, not on the state, but the thing I'm frustrated by is if you can play it at your computer and hear it, right? And not in this weird garbled state that it is now, why can't we? That's what I'm frustrated by.
But I think as I played it a few seconds ago, we were all able to hear it. I mean, I don't know how this both.
No,
Is
not
that what the
very
audio
well.
sounds like when you play it for yourself at your computer or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I can hear the words.
Except that you're telling me that, like, you're telling me things that are being said at the beginning of the video that I can't hear. And that's what I don't understand.
Yeah, this is.
And it's not that I can't hear it. It's that I can't make out anything. And I don't understand why you can if the court can't. And is it an audio quality issue because you're listening to it, on your computer or whatever?
I'm not sure, Your Honor. I mean, I can maybe bring this speaker up closer to the court so you can hear it, what I hear, but I can hear I can hear him, and maybe because I've listened to it, I know what's happening, and that could possibly be the case. But as we moved the speaker down, and I kept asking, starting at different points, I think everyone heard everything. That wasn't hard to hear. It was the first minute and 30 seconds. But I believe that everything after that, when I stopped it at the various points a few seconds ago, I believe everyone heard, or at least no one communicated that they did not hear what was being projected on the audio.
Okay. Mr. McDermott, your objection is going to be overruled. I'm going to let the state play the audio for whatever it's worth. Okay?
I'll just note for the record that Ms. Hilton stated just a minute ago that she would be willing to put the speaker up closer to the jury, quote, so they can hear whatever they can hear. And that's my argument.
Right, but that's always, that's the problem with the quality of videos. Sometimes the ones that were done 3 days ago in a police interview room that's outfitted with appropriate audio, whatever's there is whatever's there, and whatever the jury hears is what the jury hears based on what's there, and that's just a sad fact of life. So your objection is noted for the record. It's overruled.
Again, the jury is the ultimate fact finder, so I get that she is erring on the side of caution and kind of doing the spaghetti against the wall, just let the jury decide. But if it's so subjective as to the fact that hear whatever they're going to hear, I don't like this. I don't like it at all.
And you're going to start it at the 135 mark? Okay, if you'll go ahead and cue that up at the 135 mark.
It's ready.
Okay, so all you have to do is hit play?
Yep.
Okay, so can we have our jury back, Deputy? Thank you.
Bring Mr. Sprinkles back.
Oh, can we have our witness back too? I'm sorry. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Sprinkles, back again. Sprinkles back. Tell a friend. Sprinkles back. Sprinkles back. Sprinkles back. Da-na-na. And suddenly, mysteriously, and without all reason, I have forgotten the lyrics beyond that for right now. Come on, court, stop moseying.
You did. Sorry for that delay, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Ms. Ms. Hilton, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I've never seen a girl in line, she showed in my house, just going right up home. That first time I've seen her, she showed up with that. She, going about the other time, they go on. We went away together and come back and let's get going. It's about You know, after finish one year, like 8, 9 times, so we feel fit that, like people know they do. So I don't have a good relationship there, but I'll kind of figure out, that's what we do, I can always talk to them. But, I mean, it's all, yeah, really nice for this for a while. Yeah. I was living, I don't know what that was good, we didn't live in Atlanta. That was just, if it was in the wall. It was, I don't know, get up, okay, no, okay,
I got okay.
certificate, how bad, you never leave it now, how bad it's not. You get put off for this, and I mean, you will, nothing now. Why are you in the system mode, you know, you want that, get us into that mode, I know it doesn't sound good. Then, you know, this time around, you know, you just pull.
And the audio goes out. Not that we were comprehending anything.
Up until you know, later on, there's a couple months ago, you got like, you got to, she would have worked in this walk route up there on Yorkville. And she knows, yeah, I took over there.
I understood door.
You know, she come on, she put it in that door, pull up, walk out, but yeah, he worked there. Just like, and she took it on for 3 or 4 days, and time to come back, we have information. Then, she would come back, one day, she would go, you would get on top of it. All the time about 10 times ago. This was right around Thanksgiving, remember that? I was thinking it was 99. You know, I'm gonna say, I mean, she come back. She doesn't want, she would come back good, but she stayed there last week. I guess that was just to get her stuff. And she stayed there. She left again, come back a couple days later. She come back and it was a long talk that night. The next morning I woke up, she even got all stuff. That she was, a lady of mine has been on a water train, maybe he did, I struggled with it. He got off the 5 points, and she took one over. You got a video here with your dog, right? There's a 98, somewhere I think that's where about 12 weeks that kind of dog, that's years. I'm saying, yeah, it's in 99, just wanted to know.
And Obscure Crime, thank you so much. Sorry we always come too late. We changed our format. You two made us delete all the combat footage from Afghanistan, Iraq, and travel videos. We're doing crime now. Well, I'm sorry that they took down that. I've noticed I'm a big documentary person on YouTube, and I find it, and look, this is probably a personal taste thing, but I think we absolutely need to see history in its raw and most heartbreaking form in order to never ever, repeat history. And I do like good World War II documentaries, and they've started blurring out a lot of the footage. And I get that, you don't want a kid to stumble in on some of the incredibly heartbreaking things that our history does have. But those are generally always behind an age block. I age block my stuff because, as much as I don't curse a whole lot, I still do curse. And I know some families don't like that in their family stuff. Good luck on switching to true crime. We are never running out of stories. Lord Chippy always has good kind of trials to watch or to look at. So good luck with that. I hope it works out well. And I'm sorry that they made you take those down. Reality and history need to be seen with open eyes so that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past and don't lose the wisdom that we were given by people, from the past. That's ridiculous. And Obscure, if you ever want to do something together, let me know. I'm fairly flexible now that Mr. Mo is retired. I understand I'm not everyone's cup of tea, though. So, if so, good luck. Or good, I would love to work with you. If not, also understand trying to do all of this stuff is incredibly there's a lot of work on the back end. This isn't like a, feel bad for me thing, but there's a lot more involved than I thought at first when I was first streaming.
I think that time I was looking at 8.3. The first one she worked with, I really don't want you to this day, I want you to get through like then and then sometimes. You got water train all the way up to Georgia. The only reason she gave me minutes at that time was because it's right off the water train. I'm really much about this. I mean, to this day, I'm thinking, that's one thing her sister knows, or she never let me on her that, so. I don't know if it was gas used from before or what, I'm thinking. If you say we survive, so they really would be sporadically, yeah. I'll say it's almost, I'll say because it was right around, it was almost Christmas, I remember. Then after she left, I didn't hear too much from her for, a couple months, or whatever. Back in, April, the following year, which I guess would be time, and I was coming down this street, I don't know if you know about the line like that, but right when the train station was in, I was coming through there, and she was walking the road, and he was just in a white girl, blowing the horn, just, every 90 degrees around there, But, I thought, and I blew the horn at it, and I got a road about 50 times on that time. I knew it was, I couldn't believe it. I don't know, I guess my sister continues how she lives. You got to how she lives when she's right.
I can't understand any of this. I'm getting ready to fast forward through it.
We stopped and she just wanted to talk. We went to the whatever. And every time she was like, I'm going to come back home. I like, you know, the emotions or whatever it's going to take me, and just like this, and they're off. I just move on. It looked like they like tracked themselves and all. They just, yeah, I don't really key up on all that, With that, she was awesome. She was telling me what was going on and all this. Basically, what happened was, from time to time, I had that kind of goes on. You got to hear this guy right, and see what they put talk to me. Like all these people live in one house.
And Obscure Crime, we need any help we can get. Ron has me researching my butt off, so yeah, we'll do anytime you want. Okay, well, thank you. I will tell you that next week I am going to be doing infusions, and that's going to probably knock me on my behind for the full week. I am going in eyes open this time, which is nice. I think a lot of why the infusions maybe weren't as effective this past winter was because I didn't know how down I was going to be. And I'm the type that I don't like to sit still. It's actually why I picked up cross stitching and all the crafting that I could do sitting still before I started streaming, because I need to feel like I've done something productive on days where my body just doesn't feel like it's working or doing anything. So, completing an art project was something that I would do and listen to trials. That being said, I was going somewhere with a point with this. It will circle back to me. Sorry about that. No, there just is the infusion week, and I think why I had such a problem with it last time, I wasn't aware of how tired and I was kind of existing for the week that I got my infusion last time. So now that I'm aware that I'm just going to be tired, I won't have an expectation that I'm going to be doing a lot of things. And that was what frustrated me last time. But now I'm going in with my eyes open. So I will probably be reporting to you from my laptop on my little desk bed. And I know, Mo in bed. Mind out of the gutter, I will still be clothed and still be talking true crime. All right, this is ridiculous. I am not torturing myself with stupid, garbled audio.
Witness stand, ma'am, and when you get there, if you
And obscure, just happy you're able to get the infusion. Started scrapbooking and painting the second time I got breast cancer, so I get it. And I'm sorry you had to walk through breast cancer twice. You guys, I know it sounds like I'm not doing anything, but we are getting the setup for the craft channel. I do want to do it properly. This is kind of back to old Mo before I got hurt, where I want to have things set up and proper before I get it going. So the craft channel is still, on its way. We are working, we are setting it up. It's just taking longer to set it up correctly so you guys get a good stream and a good craft kind of view versus, me just ad hocing it. But let's get back on the track.
will, before you
And
have a seat, turn
I
around
am
and
so
face the
glad you're
deputy and
still
raise your
here,
right hand. He'll swear you in.
Oh, wow, she's beautiful. Okay, but I'm not trying to be rude, but does she have a piercing right here on the little, like, crease of your lip? Or is that a mole? And should I not say anything?
Rosa,
Thank you.
Rosa, James, James.
Did you read the instruction room?
My understanding was after you had qualified
Oh, okay.
or attempted to qualify her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, James.
Good afternoon.
How are you employed?
I'm currently employed, self-employed at my consulting company called Sania's Place, LLC. I was going to.
Is this expert going to make me cringe and use cursey words? Is this the one that's going to label every man as a toxic male, bad person? Because I swear to goodness, I dislike females like this. There are bad guys. Yeah, there are guys that will lay hands, but there are also women that will lay hands. And it seems like people that very much advocate for domestic, laying hands on seem to forget that men are also victims. It's not just a female-centric thing. There are, victims that don't fit the typical pattern, and they seem to kind of want to lump everything into just a narrative. And I really don't like the piercing. Look, it would just bother the ever-living hell out of me. And if you have to blow your nose, does the tissue get stuck? Do you get little dingleberries? I'm a terrible person going straight to Hades.
SANIYAH Place, LLC.
And if you can tell the jury your job duties and responsibilities at your consulting firm.
So my job duties as a consultant is I'm a researcher, practitioner, and also a trainer for intimate partner violence and gender-based violence. I also do sexual violence and child abuse. I do trainings, I do presentations, panels, whatever the community needs me to do, and I also do expert testimonies.
And how long have you had your consulting firm?
It's been open since January of 2023.
And if you can tell the jurors, how long have you been in the space of working in intimate partner violence?
I started working in the intimate partner violence movement in 2012.
And just tell the jury about your education, your job training in intimate partner violence.
So I started working in the intimate partner violence movement in 2012 at Harbor House of Central Florida. That is a local domestic violence center in Orlando, Florida. And then I continued throughout I continued to the Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and then I moved to the Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and that's how I got to Georgia. My education background.
So is her expertise essentially working with different charities that are focused on DV? And again, unless she has a background in psychology, sociology, maybe even anthropology, might possibly. I don't know. I'm not one of these people that says you have to have a degree to be an expert. I think that life experience, denotes expertise that a degree, often doesn't capture. I do get concerned when your only reference is within your scope area. It doesn't sound like she has any experience outside of this very niche kind of thing, and it would seem to reinforce certain ideas. That being said, those are just my observations and worries about this expert. Also, I've heard from Baker that this is a terrible expert, so buckle in.
I have a bachelor's of science and legal studies from the University of Central Florida. I have a master's
Oh,
of
no,
social
you're
work
not,
from the University of
Chickadee Buck.
Central
You
Florida,
make
which
me
is a clinical program.
you motivate me.
I also am currently finishing up my PhD at Clark Atlanta University in the social work program, policy and organizational leadership. From the Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence, I transitioned to the District Attorney's Office as a domestic violence trainer in July of 2019. And then when Madam DA came into office, I became a senior advocate, senior victim witness advocate, the domestic violence trainer, and domestic violence expert.
And you said you're currently getting your PhD at Clark Atlanta?
Clark Atlanta University.
And are you currently at the dissertation stage?
Yes.
What is your dissertation on?
My dissertation is on intimate partner violence, Black women in service delivery of the local domestic violence centers in Georgia.
Now, you said that you served as a trainer at both the Georgia Coalition Against Domestic Violence and the Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence. If you could tell the jurors, what type of training have you conducted?
So the foundation of the trainings that I conducted at those two coalitions, they statewide coalitions, is I trained advocates to service survivors of domestic violence. And also these trainings lasted 3 days. On top of that, I had to train the community members as far as
3 days is not enough extensive training to understand the very multifaceted and intricate and often generational cycles that cause DV. I am not, claiming that you need an expertology degree to be an expert, but 3 days of training does not an expert make. And then you're sending them out to deal with women who have very, very complex lives. If I want us to solve, this whole partner, laying hands on thing, but we're going to have to invest in it. We're going to have to get more than 3 days training, and we're going to have to accept that not all victims are women. I really am tired of that narrative. There are other victims, there are elderly victims, and while maybe the majority of the victims that we see, that we know about, are female, there are a lot of male victims that suffer in silence, and I wish we would also advocate for them.
is healthcare, different systems like healthcare, law enforcement, even in Florida, prosecution offices, any community members throughout the state of Florida and throughout the state of Georgia about domestic violence. I also train advocates on protective orders. In Florida is injunctions. We train them how to be legal advocates in a sense where they have to help survivors with their injunctions as far as helping them through the court process. And also I've done trainings on queer community and domestic violence and basically a vast majority of intimate partner violence, child abuse, and how all that relates to gender-based violence.
And over your years of working in the field of intimate partner violence and gender-based violence, have you met with and spoken with victims of intimate partner violence?
Yes, I started in 2012, and that was immediately contact with survivors, and through face-to-face trainings, hotline calls, well over 20,000 contacts with survivors of domestic violence.
And I said victims, and you said survivors. Tell me, why do you use the term survivors?
So
This is not an after-school special. I don't need this. Y'all know I have been in a not great relationship, but I don't feel the need to always bring it out and, show it. That being said, there is something about this performative victimhood / survivor queenness that really just makes I swear to goodness, I have like some sort of cringe growth in my body that just makes it ache. I have an organ, I think that, I'm pretty sure it's my appendix that, takes in cringe. There's just so many buzzwords. I hate the buzzwords. I hate the psychiatrist talk. I don't like it. I know it speaks to some people. I know it puts some people at ease. It annoys the ever living snot out of me. I would rather you tell me straight, and not put a gloss on it than use after school special from Blossom.
Our world and in the movement, we use survivor because the survivor is a term of endearment. And also some survivors, they use thrivers. They have thrived through.
No, it's a term of empowerment. A term of endearment is like honey, sweetie. No, it would be empowerment. Oh my God, we all agreed on English. Would you flip and flapjack stop? I hate this new speak. I am done with it. F it. I want it done. Let's all agree to go back to English. Let's all look at dictionaries. Look, I know I mix up with my vocabulary, but again, if you're going to try to use, bigger words to make yourself look intelligent, if you are in fact at the dissertation stage, then you should know that it would be a term of empowerment, not a term of endearment. Oh my God. Sorry for this rant.
The domestic violence. We only typically use victim in this realm, or where I am in the science realm, in the advocacy realm, if someone has fallen due to domestic violence, a casualty.
And you talked about having over 20,000 contacts with survivors of domestic or intimate partner violence. Has those interviews and conversations and interactions assisted you in your understanding of domestic violence relationship dynamics?
Yes.
Now, over your course and working in the field as well, have you met and spoken with offenders or abusers?
Yes.
And can you estimate for the jury about how much contact have you had with offenders or abusers?
So I've had a year of contact with what we would call perpetrators or abusers, because I taught in Florida batteries intervention courses, which is a 32-week-long course that the courts in Florida mandate that if you receive an injunction that you must take.
And have those...
Also, as a person who had someone going through the probation, kind of rigmarole, if you are willing and ready to make a change in your life, probation and parole do offer, tools that you can use to better your life. There is no doubt about that. However, my experience with the parole probation thing is that all they cared about was the fees. They cared about you having the fees paid. They got you into classes. I personally didn't have to go through it, but I personally did have to pay for a lot of it. And it's disheartening that it seems to all be about the money. I do understand that crime, causes loss of taxpayer resources. So I do understand the need for restitution. But a lot of these classes and a lot of these programs, they're not monitored in a way in a lot of jurisdictions where they are useful. And there are a lot of people on parole and probation that are not ready to change their lives and should honestly and objectively probably still be in prison if they aren't ready to change. That being said, I'm not a magician or, a goddess, so I don't know how we fix it. I'm sure smarter people than me are working on it. That being said, it doesn't seem like they're working on anything, but we can all hope.
Interactions, those trainings informed you regarding your understanding of domestic violence and the dynamics of domestic violence?
Yes, it has.
Have you ever testified in the state of Georgia as an expert in domestic violence?
Yes.
How many times?
So Florida has been 27. I'm about to do the math. I want to say around 47, 48 times in the state of Georgia.
Your Honor, at this time, the state like to tender Ms. Rosa James as an expert in domestic violence relationships, and domestic violence relationship dynamics.
Mr. Samuel?
We'll reserve word here for cross-examination.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Samuel, come here, please. Ms. Hilton, y'all both come here.
Would you like me to step out?
No, you're fine. Thank you.
What in the name of Hades in a handbasket is going on?
The state is offering Excuse me, I'm sorry. The state is offering the testimony of Ms. James as an expert witness. And so at this moment, I'm going to just instruct you generally that people who testify as experts are testifying because the proponent of the evidence believes that they have specialized experience, training, knowledge in a particular field that's not common knowledge or known to the average citizen. And the law permits a person who is testifying as an expert witness to give their opinions based on that training and experience. You are not required to accept the testimony of any witnesses, expert or otherwise, and testimony of an expert like that of all witnesses is to be given only such weight and credit as you think it is properly entitled to receive. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, the nose ring annoys me because she has the most beautiful complexion I have ever seen. So clear. She is a beautiful woman. And that nose thing just, if it makes her feel good, great. Is it my jam? Absolutely not. I'm trying to remember the Jesus in me because at this point I'm like, no. I'm like, you're so beautiful. Why do you have that thing on your face? It's like a mole. It's like in Uncle Buck where he kept saying like Uncle Melanoma, like, oh, it's a wart. Oh, it's a growth. I just can't unsee it.
Ms. Hilton.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. James, can you please define domestic violence for the jury?
Yes, the definition of domestic violence is a pattern of coercive behaviors to gain and maintain control over your partner.
And based on just your training and knowledge, how familiar is the public with the issue of intimate partner domestic violence?
So the public is familiar with the concept of intimate partner violence, specifically the physical aspect, but the science behind that, the science behind domestic violence, the public typically isn't well versed about what's under the iceberg, typically just above, which is physical violence or any type of sexual violence.
And over the course of the years, has there been some type of increased knowledge with the public as it relates to people watching kind of like true crime television?
Yes, specifically, the boom of the internet is.
Are we bringing CrimeCon into the court? Like people, oh my goodness. Okay. Lord, give me strength. All right. Yes, people do have a sort of now wider colloquial and ubiquitous understanding of some of the factors and the realities of DV. That is true. To call, no offense to the softer sciences, but they are still so subjective as to be, on the edge of even being called science. I'm not saying that we can't glean information by surveying people, by studying behavior, but it does seem like a lot of the sociology, the psychology, there is a narrative, there is a lens through which they are studying. There are biases that are sometimes apparent with either political ideas, ideologies, personal beliefs. There are those things that are brought into these sciences that do taint sort of the results. It is, very subjective. A lot of these studies can't be repeated. So I'm not denigrating it, but I do have a lot of issues with the softer sciences, with the non-STEM sciences, because of the baggage that can be brought in with the observer effect, with wanting the outcome to reveal your leanings, your beliefs. I do believe that there is an inclination and, however subconscious or conscious, to prove your theories right in the soft sciences. And you can, the numbers and statistics are malleable enough to do it and still call it science. It's like Bill Nye saying he's a science guy when he's an engineer, which I understand is science, but I would have been fascinated with, I'm Bill Nye, an engineer. I'd have been cool with that. That being said, if he could get off his moral high horse and stop preaching to us, that would be lovely. I used to like Bill Nye.
Information that's there, and through the true crime or any type of documentary, yes, the public can access that information.
However, in your experience, has the knowledge that comes from, say, internet or from podcasts or true crimes, is that the full knowledge or understanding of the science of domestic violence?
No, it is not.
Based on your work in the field, what are some common misconceptions regarding domestic violence?
So the biggest misconception, if the survivor leaves the relationship, the abuse will stop. And that is not true. The data shows that's the most lethal time in the relationship. That is when the survivor is under the most danger and most likely to be killed. So that is a misconception. The abuse does not stop just because someone leaves the relationship.
And based on kind of some of the trainings that you've done in your experience, what are some of the beliefs about why an individual may remain in an abusive relationship?
So there's a host of concepts and theories and perspectives of why someone would remain in an abusive relationship. The biggest factor is power and control. This person has exerted power and control, and the victim or the survivor feels as if they have to stay and remain in this relationship. Also, there's a component of fear and protection, protection of children, protection of self.
This is nothing that a survivor or anyone who's had life experience couldn't tell me. Again, if she's bringing science in, I would like data. If she's a scienceologist, if she's getting ready to get a PhD in social services data coordination, I believe, then she should have data. I want to know the data. I want to know that, 73% of, these survivors go back even after a PTO. 83% of them, stated that they felt most endangered when they left. 93% of the, situations in which DV becomes fatal is when the, when the decedent is trying to leave. That's what I expect from a scienceologist. Again, I know this is a bugbear of mine. I know that this is just a personal crusade, and I think that sociology and psychology could be used for good things, but it's become so blighted with political leanings, with ideology, with an overriding, disregard for anything that challenges their personally held beliefs. And it's almost as functional as tits on a bull, or the government, to be honest.
Protection of family members is many different dynamics of domestic violence why someone will remain in that cycle of abuse.
And are there any research? Is there any research about how long it usually takes a survivor to leave an abusive relationship?
Yes, the research state on average it takes 7 times to fully leave a relationship that is abusive.
Now, are you familiar with the term or the concept of the cycle of violence?
Yes.
How are you familiar with the cycle of violence?
So the cycle of violence is a cycle that shows how a survivor would remain inside or trapped inside of a abusive relationship with their partner.
And is there a demonstrative that you sometimes use in order to explain the cycle of violence, or it's also called the cycle of abuse?
Yes.
You have permission to approach?
Go ahead.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Stacey Exhibit number 79. Do you recognize Stacey Exhibit 79?
Yes.
And how do you recognize Stacey Exhibit number 79?
This is a cycle of abuse. It's an evidence-based tool we use in our practice to show how survivors stay in relationships.
And will this
So you not only contract with the state, but you have not delivered any information that I could not have gotten from Wikipedia. Again, I hate when my time is wasted. I do not like it. And to bring an expert who has given me nothing that an after school special, from the 1980s would have given me is absolutely infuriating. And the fact that she probably brings in a lot of government grants and, money, and I am just irritated. Again, you cannot say you're based in science and then bring no evidence beyond what is anecdotal. And especially in these softer sciences, you need to have some sort of quantifiable data, because otherwise it's subjective and you can cherry pick. I do not like this kind of science. It bothers me greatly. Sorry for the rant.
demonstrative assist you and explain the cycle of abuse to your?
Yes.
This time the state like they did Stacey Exhibit 79.
Mr. Samuel,
No objection.
79 is admitted.
Permission to publish.
Permission granted.
Of abuse and explaining the demonstrative that's on the screen.
Yeah, so the cycle of abuse, like I stated, is a cycle in which they trap inside of an abusive relationship. And I know that the public is very familiar with some of these terms, such as like, or even the tension building phase. But I want to explain based on a social theory from 1979 of how we see someone staying inside the relationship with the tension building, right? This is right before the incident.
What happened to the audio? How is the audio possessed? I go back to my conjecture that Georgia, the entire state, was built upon a pet cemetery, and or the nexus of evil for the, what is it, metaverse? I don't know. I'm not big into Stephen King, but the Dark Tower negaverse or whatever it is, the centrality, the nexus is not in Derry, Maine. No, it is in Georgia. That is my thought pattern at this point. It is the only thing that explains Georgia. And Pennywise is in the sewers, you know. I'll pray for you, Georgia.
It could be a whole host of things, and it doesn't have to be a physical incident of arrest, right? So that's when the incident happens. In the reconciliation phase, where we're seeing about guilt, right? Sometimes the survivor feels guilt during this phase. This is the phase where I see survivors wanting to release the charges. This is why I see survivors wanting to recant or even fund the batterers or perpetrators funds and when they're in jail. This is when the perpetrator, either he apologizes or he blames the victim for what happened to them, and oh, it wasn't as bad as it was. This is where a lot of the term gaslighting comes in, and it's basically a conversation back and forth between the survivor and the perpetrator where they're getting back into the relationship. It does not have to look like a honeymoon phase where you're getting flowers and all these things. That's why we no longer really use that term anymore, and that's why we use the phase calm. So in this phase, most likely the abuse is forgotten, the incident is forgotten. We just move on with life like this never happened. That's what I see the most in my field, in my personal observation in the field that I work in. It's just forgotten. It didn't take place. These things happen in relationships, we move on. But like I said, it doesn't always look like, oh, you're getting flowers, you're getting presents and gifts, and it's all love. It doesn't always look like that. Sometimes it just looks like we're moving on with life.
And
this woman is this close to getting a doctorate. Again, she has not told me anything. Not one damn thing that I couldn't look up on Wikipedia or Google. And all of this is anecdotal. Again, it needs to be kind of quantifiable. You need to explain this beyond. She is, okay, on the positive, in the compliment sandwich. She is explaining things in a common language and not talking down to the jury, you know, intensely. She is explaining things in sort of a lay term that isn't condescending, but also isn't, you know, hard to follow. So that is good. Other than that, I really don't like that the state used her. I don't think she's adding anything that we didn't already know from just personal experience. It is a sad and unfortunate thing that we may all know someone who has walked through a relationship like this or walked through a relationship personally like this, male or female. And it is a tragedy every single time that someone is in a relationship like this. It shouldn't happen. But if you are presenting yourself as an expert, I expect to have something more polished. I expect you to know data. I expect you to have, you know, FBI data, crime data, you know, trends, surveys, that kind of things, actual tools that can be used to measure things. Yeah, this is annoying, mostly because I hate people wasting my time. This could all have been covered in an email. This is why I would not work in an office, because any meeting that is absolutely unproductive and unimportant would piss me off royally.
kind of talk about in the incident phase, it could be verbal, emotional, and physical. Is it usually one of those three, verbal, emotional, or physical?
It could be a whole host of things. It doesn't always have to be fit into that box because domestic violence is not a box. Every relationship looks different. Every incident looks different.
Now, in the field, is there also a concept of the power and control wheel?
Yes. The power and control wheel was created in 1980. It's a qualitative tool where 300 survivors were interviewed, and we use ground theory, which is a themes theory, to find different themes, well, similar themes, to create this wheel to show the tactics of the perpetrator.
Your sample group was 300 people. 300. And you let them subjectively fill out something, and you used some sort of theme matrix. What in the made-up Scientology? Look, Scientology has a better system than this. Flippin' Flapjack Twin Flames has a better Scientology than this. This is so annoying.
And have you used a demonstrative power and control to explain how an abuser will exert power and control over a survivor?
Yes.
Now I'm going to show you what's the mark is State's Exhibit number 75. Do you recognize State's Exhibit number 75?
Yes.
And how do you recognize State's Exhibit 75?
It is the power and control wheel.
And would that help you today in your testimony and explain to the jury the power and control that abusers use in relationship?
Yes.
I mean, this time state like limit State's Exhibit 75 for demonstrative.
This is a demonstrative exhibit?
Yes, sir.
No objection to using it as a demonstrative exhibit.
Exhibit 75 is admitted for demonstrative purposes.
Thank you.
All right, I hate these. This is so much text on something that's supposed to be, again, clear and coherent, concise. Look, I'm not a graphicologist. I just know that I have ADHD and I know what works for me. And these are way too many words. This is too much information. If you have a graphic, you should just put the bold here, and then you should be able to kind of talk your way through the wheel without having to put blocks of text in there. I hate everything
Looking
about
at
this.
State's Exhibit number 75. Okay, let me remove them. If you can, and what I'll do is I'll navigate over here. Just tell me when I need to go up or down.
So
Go down.
to show like the contributing factors and okay. Oh, that's
All right. Okay. So if you can explain kind of the wheel itself, and if you could, you may have to step down just because we might not be able to on this thing. Yeah. So to explain to the jurors what's.
So I want to explain to you all what this wheel is, but I want to tell you why it's structured this way. So on the outside, so first, this isn't the first wheel. This wheel has evolved over since 1980.
Oh, for the love
And
of
the reason why I
Cheetos.
use this wheel, because it's a very much gender neutral wheel, because we understand that domestic violence isn't just gendered from man and woman, right? It is a whole host of genders, a whole host of communities that suffer from intimate partner violence. And it's structured this way because the physical and sexual violence is seen. Those are things that can be seen, so that's why they're on the outside of the wheel. And these are systems that contribute to intimate partner violence, right? Systems, isms, and things I train about when I'm out in the community trying to help people understand how these different systems could trap someone in a relationship, right? So on the inside, we're going to start with using intimidation. On the inside, these are factors or tactics you may not see when you approach a survivor of domestic violence. You may not see intimidation. Mind you, these are all inside the spokes. You may not see someone writing a book. You may not see someone abusing text or using weapons as threats, right?
At this point, the better analogy and not a circle with wheels and spokes and all of this, what would have been better and more clear and concise is to have had what the analogy that she used prior, the iceberg. So what you see on the surface is very limited. It can be the physical signs, a bruise, a scratch, things like that, changes in behavior. But underneath that are the underlying causes, and you could have had those in bold. It makes for a better graphic. It makes for a clearer understanding because people do understand what the iceberg implies, that there is much under the surface. If myself in a high pain day can be the logical voice of reason, there is something freaking wrong with this world.
Putting a gun on the table is not illegal. You may not see the emotional abuse. You may not see that person being put down. You may not see the humiliation, or you may not even think that that person is being humiliated or being exposed in that moment as a form of power and control. Using isolation. This is very important because this happens very early in the relationship. They isolate you to them and their support system, right? They don't want you to have any outside friends. They don't want you to have any outside family. They don't want you to have sisters, sorority sisters, or whatever is your support system. Sometimes this transfers, like this parallel to economic abuse, right? Your livelihood. So what I see a lot in isolation is survivors being pulled away from their family, right? Being moved across country, or being told that it's abnormal to speak with your family members every day, right? They're trying to reduce your access to people so that others on the outside don't see the abuse that's going on.
Here's the thing. Mr. Moe and I have talked about this. My family is not the type to call every day. His is the type. It was definitely a culture shock when I learned that Mr. Moe talked to his mom every day. My mom, and I talk sporadically, but we don't do that, and that's okay. The problem with this is, with this being as subjective as it is, everything can be twisted into, this is abuse. And the problem I've been seeing is everyone is so quick to throw out the word narcissist or, claim I was abused and things like that, when it's not always that. It's not always that. This does seem to have somewhat of a performative thing in the general, like, population. I mean, go on TikTok, go on Reddit, type in narcissist, and you will just see people throwing the word out there, left, right, and center. There are not that many narcissists out there. We all have moments of arrogance, of innate narcissism. We all have an inner ego. But this sort of self-diagnosis thing has become ubiquitous and mentally draining for people that are normal. I'm just saying, I'm looking back, and some days, y'all, I am gonna confess, I swear to goodness, sorry about the squirrels. This is just a tangent day. That being said, when I was 13, 14, middle school, full on headgear, just grew boobs, completely isolated from the entire world and figured I was alone, I survived on the deep, desperate, and totally fictional hope that my alien, family, my real family, had left me behind on a mission. We were supposed to observe these crazy humans. I somehow, with my directional challengedness, didn't make it back. So in ET fashion, they went to a galaxy far, far away. Now, being technically special needs like I am, and I mean like with technical stuff, I haven't been able to contact them, but the thought that I was in fact just an alien like Cocoon, I don't know why. Cocoon gave me hope that maybe I was just a human-shaped alien. Again, I never claimed to be a normal child. That being said, this woman is making me again hope at the age that I am in fact an alien sent to, like, oh gosh, what is it? David Attenborough to, observe humans in the wild and simply write down their characterizations and their behaviors like an anthropologist. Some days humans are too weird to want to be in the same species. At least that's my indoor cat thought.
Minimize it, right? It wasn't that bad. What are you talking about? I'm minimizing the joke. I'm minimizing what took place, specifically on the cycle abusive incident. there's a minimization going on during the reconciliation phase. It wasn't that bad. You made it look like it was end of the world, and it wasn't. Using children. That is a major, major part of why a lot of survivors stay in relationships, because they want to protect their children, right? That is just the natural part of being an adult. And sometimes when there's a separation, because this abuse can continue outside of the relationship. The relationship could end, but if you have that connection with children, we can start using the children as a go-between. We can start using the children as someone else to continue the power and control and abuse. We can also use children to harass family members, use children to indirectly affect your livelihood, right, on your place of employment, and things of that nature. Now we use privilege. So this has changed to you.
Oh Lord, give me strength. Good night, nurse. Privilege. That word has been thrown around, and it hasn't been defined. Here's the problem. Privilege can be anything. Can we please, in George Carlin fashion, go back and have a clear definition of what privilege is before we start throwing it out like it is glitter? And Wolfram, have a lovely, lovely lunch. Thank you for all your Modly Mod duties.
We can use the Bible, we can use someone's race, their culture. Privilege can look a lot of different ways. In economic abuse, I always talk about.
I mean, at this point, with as wide as we've taken the net at, possible bad or problematic behaviors, according to this wheel, nearly anything can be molded or looked through at a lens that it can fit in this wheel. I don't like these kind of things. I do think that, yes, there is a part of intimate partner issues with DV that is very coercive, that is very under the surface, that, can kind of leak into every aspect of your life. But not everything is a personal attack. And this does seem like, something that's used to make everything seem like it could fall under these matrix. Or matrices. I don't know what matrix is. The matrix is. Who knows?
You must have control of all the money. You must make the most money. No, it could simply be tampering with a survivor's car so that they can't go to work, right? Ruining credit, continuously getting evicted, invasion of accounts. It could look any way, but the whole goal is to take control of your economic livelihood. Using coercion and threats. That's in the definition. I'm going to coerce you to stay in this relationship. Coercion is really used a lot in the queer community. I'm going to out you. This wheel, the healthy relationship wheel, we have so many different wheels out right now, but it is the same concept, power and control.
Thank you. And in every abusive relationship, will you see every tactic used?
No.
In order to define a relationship as an abusive relationship, does there have to be like a magic number of events or physical violence or a certain amount of times that someone uses isolation to define that this relationship is domestic violence?
No.
How do you distinguish in the field, say, an isolated incident from a relationship that would be considered a domestic violence relationship?
So to explain an isolated incident, we look back at the definition of domestic violence. The definition is a pattern of coercive behavior to gain and maintain control. That's what it is. And if there is a pattern, it doesn't take, it's an indefinite number, right? We don't have a certain number. We don't have a certain theme for it to fit in. As long as it fits under that definition and that survivor is explaining that relationship from beginning to end or in the middle, patterns of coercive behavior to gain and maintain power and control, or for the perpetrator to exert power and control, we define that as a domestic violence relationship.
Sniper Hunter too. I don't think abusers have these goals. They make things up because, again, motivations are multifaceted. nothing is black and white. And there are so many motivations, so many things that are conscious, that are unconscious, that fall into these things. And that's why it's so subjective. She obviously has a lens through which she sees this. And that's okay. Everyone does. And I am in no way saying that we shouldn't try to understand and help people get out of this cycle. That is not at all. I'm not saying that I don't believe that intimate partner issues don't exist. I don't like the way she's studying this. I don't like the way she's presenting it. But I do think that there are probably studies, again, I'm not, well versed in this, I'm not an expertologist, but there are probably better studies that are very detail oriented and other experts that could have brought in some fact-based evidence that would have been more productive. I am so tempted to speed up and just actually, we are getting to the defense cross of this woman. I can't anymore. And I do have a date with Mr. Moe at noon. So we are going to hurry up. Ooh, you're bringing in all my booze. I know I love you.
Love you too.
How many times have you testified as an expert in one of her cases?
I believe once.
Okay. Of the 47 times that you testified in Georgia, were they always for Fulton County,
No.
percentage-wise?
If we're looking at percentage, I would say maybe 95%
Were Fulton County?
were Fulton County.
Right. So 95% of 47 would be, I don't know, 45, something like that?
But also one of those cases was with the defense.
Okay. So there's only one occasion where you ever testified for the defense?
In Fulton County.
Okay. And all the other times you were testifying either for Fulton County or, I don't know, DeKalb, Gwinnett, Cobb, somewhere, correct?
Rephrase.
Well, I was just trying to do the arithmetic, but you said 47 times. One time you testified for the defense. The other, 44, 45 times you testified for the prosecution. And almost all in Fulton County.
Yes.
Okay. And so you're being paid now to be an expert instead of being a member of their staff and just coming in and testifying, they meaning the prosecutors. Now you went out on your own and you get to bill for your time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do you bill for all your time or just when you're sitting in the chair?
I bill for all my time.
Okay. So when we're late starting court in the morning and you have to sit out there, you bill $250 for that too?
Yes.
Okay. We'll have to remember that, Your Honor. Do you know how much you've been paid, how much you've billed in this case, or how much your hourly has been in this case so far?
Not yet.
Well, I know you haven't finished yet, but estimate the amount of hours you've put into preparing to testify in this case.
I would say estimated 3 or 4.
Okay. And you met with Ms. Hilton, obviously, correct?
Yes.
She reviewed the questions she was going to ask you.
Yes.
She reviewed the hypothetical she was going to ask you.
Yes.
She told you, I'm going to ask you in particular about isolation, and she said, I'm going to ask you in particular about the family, having custody of the children, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you told her what your answers were going to be when she asked you those questions, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did she ask you any questions, I'm curious, in preparing, that you said, no, I'm not going to be able to help you on that?
No.
Okay. So she would say, I'm going to ask you X and Y and Z and A and B, and you said, yeah, I can help you with all those things.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a few different times and in a few different ways about your knowledge of the facts of this case. But before I do that, I'll probably end just like Ms. Hilton did with that. Your testimony, in essence, is an opinion based on a lot of experience in teaching and meeting with people and reading about the characteristics of abusive relationships, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You said, I wrote it down, that you can't put abusers in a box. I'm not talking about punishment, talking about, one size fits all doesn't work, does it?
Yes.
That's correct, right?
Yes.
Okay, I asked a negative. That if you looked at did you say thousands maybe, or hundreds of abusive relationships you've looked at, more than just, a little bit, they're all different, right?
Yes.
Okay. Every relationship is unique, right?
Yes.
The abusers, and I'll just say the partners, whether they're gay or lesbian or trans or male-female or whatever, They can be wealthy and still have an abusive relationship.
Yes.
They can be poor, poverty-stricken, and still have an abusive relationship.
Yes.
There can be a
I don't like this defense attorney's attitude. He's pugnacious. I get that he's trying to be a zealous advocate for his client. The problem is he comes off as a jerky douchebag. And if you're actually, trying to fight for justice, if you're actually trying to, advocate for your client, you don't want to come off as a dick jackass. You don't want to come off as a mega, mega douche. You want to be respectful. You want to be professional. Yes, there might be a point where you can twist something and maybe make a funny joke. Maybe, the snark, the petty can come out just a little bit. But he has been a pugnacious ass to every single witness, even when it maybe doesn't. Dingus Milton Butthole. I don't know. I forgot your middle name. That being said, it doesn't look good. You come off as a jerk. So when you have this expert who doesn't really have anything to offer, it does look, it just isn't a good look. I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. And I don't think juries do. That being said, I'm not a big confrontational person. So there might be other people that really appreciate his kind of obstreperous attitude, his pugnaciousness, his kind of general disagreeableness might be a plus for them. They might see it as, just zealous advocacy. I just see it as being a rude dick. But that's, I call balls and strikes as I see them. I'm the conductress of the Petty Express. Dingus, do not go for the keyboard. We have had this talk. You are 40 pounds of nuts. We don't do that.
family of history of abuse, a family history of abuse. In other words, generation to generation, correct?
Yes.
Sometimes you'll see partners for whom both sets of parents were in fact abusive, right?
Yes.
But sometimes you'll see partners for whom the parents, there's no evidence of any history of abuse in the generation above the one that you're looking at, right?
Yes.
Some parents, again, I'm talking parents of the partners, are abusive to each other, right?
Yes.
Some parents are abusive to their children, correct?
Yes.
Including the people you look at who then become partners in the abusive relationship.
Rephrase.
Okay, I've got two generations here. I got the generation above the partners being, however you want to characterize them, whether man, woman, or whatever, abuser and what was the other word? Driver, you said? What was you said instead of victim, we call them?
Survivors.
Survivor, and so I'm looking at the generation above. Sometimes they're abusive to each other, right?
Yes.
And both the abuser and the survivor may think of their parents and think, this is normal. This is how I was brought up in my family, and justify it in their head, correct?
Yes.
And so what I was asking then was, is it sometimes the case that the parents of either the abuser or the survivor are abusive to that person?
Yes.
So abuse isn't always just limited to same generation, if you will.
No.
You can be abusive to your children, whether your children are adults or teenagers, or you can be abusive to your grandparents, right?
Yes.
Some parents spank their children, some parents don't spank their children, right?
Yes.
We wouldn't call that abuse unless it went overboard, correct?
I can't define that in this context.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
guess
that's
some parents are
requiring
guilty
her
of
to make a
crimes,
legal,
right? Parents of the
legal
partners
assessment.
you're looking at.
Yes.
You ever had a case, or do you have any experience in a case where the partners, the alleged abuser and the alleged survivor, the people you're looking at, that one of them is the child of a serial murderer?
No.
Would that be unusual?
I can't answer that in
Would
this
that
context.
fit? I'm sorry.
I can't answer that
Would
for
that-
you. I'm sorry.
Would that fit the dynamic that you're looking at, or would that be kind of outside the wheel and have to try to figure out what's going on there?
It sounds like out of the scope.
Yeah. Some people run away from home at a young age, teenagers, right?
Yes.
Some people marry at a very young age, 16, 17 years old, right?
Yes.
Okay. Some people don't. Some people get married late in life, right?
Yes.
What in the Schrodinger's random hypothetical of life are we doing here? This is like what the hell what on the fiddler's, roof or Fiddler on the Roof, sunrise, sunset, sunrise, some people marry, some people don't. What in the ubiquitous ephemeral bullshit is this? We have wasted daggone near an hour listening to random word salad that I could have gotten on a PBS special. What in the hell?
Some people are suffering from PTSD, perhaps veterans, right?
In general, yes, it's a diagnosis.
Yeah. And PTSD can be caused by a variety of things, correct? Not just being in Afghanistan, but maybe from your upbringing, correct?
I'm hesitating to answer that because I don't practice. I don't do clinical practice in Georgia. I'm not licensed in Georgia to do clinical. I'm only licensed in Florida. That's why I'm hesitating to kind of answer that because I don't want to be unethical in the state of Georgia when it comes to like diagnoses and mental health and a DSM-5.
Let me put you at ease a little bit. I'm not going to ask you for a diagnosis today. You're not going to be sued for malpractice for anything.
I don't want to.
Just in general, I'm not a doctor either. PTSD can be the result of all kinds of different kinds of trauma, correct?
I need to show people how huge
Yes.
you are.
It could be something that happened in your childhood. It could be something that happened when you were a teenager. It could be something that happened when you were in the military, right?
Now you're
Yes.
shy.
All those things can create PTSD. Is PTSD something that you see in your experience being part of the dynamic,
Love what
the
she
wheel, if you
does.
will?
No.
Okay. You don't see people who are suffering from mental health problems?
So
Bye, dingus.
when we talk about the definition of domestic violence, we practice as it is a choice. I'm trying to make sure I stay ethical.
Yeah, sure.
We practice it as a choice,
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm asking is, I apologize.
Wait, we practice it as a choice? Okay, Kamala Harris, I'm gonna need you to make some damn sense. Look, everything you've said has been a blender of words that have no actual... You're hurting my soul. I swear to goodness, I'm about to have a bullshit twitch.
My question was lousy, but either the abuser or the survivor might be suffering from mental health issues, correct?
Possibly.
Okay. If you look for the root cause of abuse, it might be, for example, infidelity.
The root cause, what we study is under the definition is exertion of power and control.
Well, that is the abuse. But the cause, if we treat it as something that's caused by something, either you and I, you're at least close to being a doctor. I'm nowhere close to being a doctor. Something causes either the person to be the abusive partner, and something causes the survivor to be susceptible to being. I'm not asking what abuse is. We'll get to that. I'm asking what causes it.
What causes is a choice. There's no diagnosis for domestic violence. There's no root causes of domestic violence. It is one individual making a...
There are plenty of root causes. You have generational cycles. You have emotional instability. You have lack of personal control. You have impulse control. This woman is going to get a doctorate. I want you to understand why I want to defund the Department of Education. I want you to understand that this woman is probably $200,000 in debt for word salad. And the sad thing is, the terribly sad, the heartbreaking thing for me is underneath all of the BS, I believe that she genuinely wants to help people. It's the only way I get through the day. I have to assume that most people have at the core of them some kind of goodness, some kind of moralness. Otherwise, look, I would be blackpilled. So I have to assume that people at the bottom of it genuinely want to help people, but what she is doing is not helping anything. She is continuing in this ivy tower of just absolute idiocracy. Oh my, wrapped in intellectualism. Again, this is faux, this is using phony words, big words to obfuscate something that we all kind of understand. And if they had approached it scientifically, I would be understandable, but this is ridiculous. I I need to go and, get a bunch of debt degrees. I have never been prouder to be a twice college graduate than now.
Choice that they believe is right to exert power and control over their partner.
Does the age and duration of the relationship have an impact on what would lead to abuse?
No.
There may be problems with alcohol.
Yes.
There may be problems with drug abuse.
Within the relationship, yes.
Huh?
Oh, within the relationship, yes.
And there may be other, as I said, mental health issues involved that you have to deal with in the relationship.
And I am in no way taking away the agency of a person that lays hands. Yes, they absolutely, gosh darn, make a choice. And it is a terrible one. It is one that should never happen. So at the bottom of it, I guess they're right, but they are being completely disingenuous, and it is ridiculous. I hate using the veil of science to push an agenda, and this is what's happening here. And it's sad because I bet at the bottom of it, and I hope that she wanted to help people that are going through this terrible thing, that are walking a journey that no one should have to walk. But she's using it to elevate her personal ideas and push a narrative, and I don't like it.
Personally, each individual, they may have their own.
Right. You don't believe, and I think you said this to Ms. Hilton, that all abusive relationships are the same either.
Yes, they're all, each one is unique.
Right. Some may be more physically abusive, some may be more emotionally abusive.
Yes.
No expert would ever claim that all abusive relationships have the same characteristics or the same causes, correct?
Correct.
Your wheel, for example, that we had on the screen for a while. Remember this?
Yes.
This is demonstrative exhibit 75. I don't think we need to put it on the screen again, but I bet you've memorized this, haven't you?
Yes, it's one of my tools. So
How often have you used this in court?
many times.
Okay. The wheel, each of the pie pieces, right? And the wheel looks like a pie, kind of, right?
The spokes.
Okay, the matrix is broken. I need a puppy kitten break because we are actually talking about what a wheel is. Georgia, I'ma pray for you. Actually, we're going to do a Sarah break because I just love this. Look, I'm extremely proud of it. Look, and I have no graphical skills, so I felt like Neo from the Matrix when I made this. So just to stroke my ego and to stop her annoying babbling and his pugnacious ridiculousness, we're taking a Sarah break.
Oh, Sarah, she won't forget. She's an honor roll and no regret. No tears have touched her lashes yet. She's scribbling like a Shakespeare vet. To plead her case, but fled that cell with lightning pace. They skimmed her notes, then left no trace, just vanished from that boon-shaped space. A boon scribble away 100 pages every day. Your lawyers run, but that's okay. You got cheese and things to say.
I need to change that and make it a bit shorter, but we're going to get a Sarah break in because these trials are getting ridiculous and we need breaks. That being said, let's continue onward into this word salad tornado.
You call them spokes, but I'm looking at the triangles as pieces of pie. Maybe that's because I'm thinking of food. But
sure.
And each of these
for the love of Cheetos.
pieces of pie have lists of examples of how intimidation is used, how emotional abuse is used, isolation, minimizing children, privilege, economic abuse. Did the Ms. Hilton review this with you and say, let's see how many of these factors we can find in our case?
No.
Have you talked to her about it before?
I spoke with her about the power and control wheel, yes.
Okay. Did she talk to you about the fact that we are not involved in this case with ruining or destroying property? Are you aware of any evidence of that in this case, either through hypothetical questions or what you were told by the DA's office?
No, I'm not aware of any of
Anything
that.
to do with abusing pets?
I'm not aware of any.
Anything dealing with displaying weapons?
No.
Are you aware of any weapons in this case at all?
No, I'm not aware.
Okay. Are you aware of anything?
Again, I don't like an expert that hasn't looked at the case. I get that they're allowed to do it because it is happening, but I don't like these very vague, kind of ephemeral, hypothetical questions. I don't like them. I think they're a waste of time, to be very honest with you. I do understand the point and why you would have them there, again, to explain to people that might have never experienced any of this, or have any experience with intimate partner issues. That might be necessary, but I would rather have someone who has knowledge of the case. That being said, it might have been argued in limine that she was not allowed to comment directly on this case, and there might be a strategy reason behind it. I just feel like it's a waste of time, in my personal opinion.
Involving humiliation or playing games or anything like that?
No.
Are you aware of anything involving controlling what you do and what you read? Anything like that? Huh?
No.
Yeah. Are you aware of anything about joking about abuse? Do you know anything about that, or any hypotheticals asked you about that?
No, I don't know any.
Anything about shifting blame onto you?
No.
Anything about making you feel guilty about your kids?
No.
You know how old the kids are in this case?
No.
You know how old they are? You talked about a hypothetical of placing kids with the supposed abuser's parents as being a sign of control. How about if the kids are like 6 months old and they're placed with the man's parents?
I have no knowledge of how old the kids are in this case.
Any evidence of using a 6-month-old or a 1-year-old to relay messages?
No.
Using visitation?
No.
I'm kind of going through your wheel, but you know that, right? Any evidence of treating the person like a servant?
No.
Being the one to define gender roles?
No.
Using race, culture, religion, or citizenship against one another?
No.
Sarah Boone, here's looking at you, kid. This kind of describes you as to a T, Sister Sarah.
Preventing anybody from getting a job?
No.
Are you aware that Ms. Wolfenbarger was working at Waffle House?
No. I don't know.
You were asked about isolation. Would you describe isolation as having an outside job, having friends, having your sister working with you? Is that isolation?
Depending on what the domestic violence looks like. Like I said, every relationship is unique. Isolation doesn't fit in a box where it has to be one thing.
Right, but if the point of isolation is to prevent you from having, recourse to friends or communities, I think you said committees or whatever it is, you have a sister, you have a job, you have coworkers, that's not isolation, is it?
It could be for some relationships. I don't know any examples of that.
Okay.
I haven't interviewed anyone in this case.
Yeah, the problem with hypotheticals is if you add a few more facts, they get more and more confusing, right?
No.
Well, I just gave you more facts dealing with isolation. You said, well, I just don't know about that.
It wasn't confusing. I said that I haven't interviewed anyone in the case, so I just can't speak to that.
Well, I'm not asking about your experience, I'm asking about your expertise. Would you describe that as being isolation?
It all depends on the nature of the relationship. Isolation isn't just one thing. I haven't interviewed anyone, so I can't answer that question.
Okay. The cycle of abuse, which is Exhibit 79, have you heard any evidence of a breakdown in communication? This is the tension building, number one. You heard any evidence about that, or any hypotheticals about that?
No.
Have you heard any evidence of blaming, threats, intimidation, number two?
No.
Number three, abuser apologizes.
All right, Mo's going off. These two have wasted enough time. all he should ever ask, the only thing he should, again, hammer in is that she has not taken a personal look at this case. She can spout off hypotheticals, but she in no way can offer any, observations for this particular case. Therefore, as an expert, she is as useful as me in the Geek Squad area at your local Best Buy. So she is about as useless as me giving directions as I lead the Donner Party, okay? I am very aware of my shortfalls. This is the biggest waste of time. The biggest this could have been an email instead of a meeting experience I've ever had in a trial. Now maybe it's because both of my legs are bothering me, so I am going to be ending the stream. But this is annoying. I can't I have to imagine that other jurors are pissed off that they are wasting their time with an expert that really isn't offering any insight into this particular case. Again, everything she has offered is something that you would know, again, just kind of logically as a human. We are incredibly complex, but we are also, creatures that behave with certain patterns. And you don't have to be a doctorologist to notice them. You don't have to be personally involved in a relationship like this to have these kind of understandings. And we are in a culture that is much more open, much more willing to talk about things that we used to slide under the rug. So we are not in the 1950s anymore. While this might not be, ubiquitous, it is somewhat common knowledge. And to bring in an expert that has absolutely no understanding of this particular case seems like, again, a bunch of filler, and I don't like it. I feel like it wastes the jury's time. But I have ranted enough for this stream. I am sorry again for the squirrels, the ranting. I don't apologize for the dingus breaks. Those are awesome. I'm going to have to get a little stand like Nick has. He has a great idea with Mr. Jingles. So I need to, be a copycat and get him a stand. The problem is we need to get a huge stand and they have to be pretty significant. I have come to realize that Maine Coons need, something more substantial. So I might set Mr. Mo on a goal to make a substantial, awesome cat tree, because I think they've got, YouTube tutorials about how you can take stuff and make your own cat tree. So that might be a thing we're doing. Thank you so much for spending time with me on the Petty Express. I am your conductress of snark, and rants and cursey words do appear generally on the tour on the Petty Express. I will be back tomorrow to do more of this, and then on Thursday I will be back with Megan Fox. We are covering the medical kidnap heartbreaking case. It does have a happy ending. Jameson is back with his parents, but the absolute ridiculous trial against two parents that did nothing wrong, other than their son had an issue with bone kind of growth. That being said, thank you so much. I will see you guys later. Have a great day. Remember to be kind to yourself, to others. Have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire. Sorry, you guys. This has been a great time and I appreciate hanging out with you guys. So I will send you forth to do whatever you feel like doing. Well, wait a minute. I think Megan's still going. She's doing a really cool interview, so you guys might want to see that. Let me go ahead and get that. One day I will be a professional like baker. I promise, or at least I endeavor to do that. Oh, she must have gotten done with her stream, or I don't know. Okay, well, you are free to go hither, forth, and yonder on the internets, wherever you please. Have a wonderful day, you guys. Bye.